All right, let's just dive right in. We're about to take on a belief you probably have about yourself, about your work, about, well, everything. Today, we're completely decoding the myth of procrastination. I want you to just sit with that for a second. Seriously, what if I told you that you've never actually procrastinated? That this thing you beat yourself up about is actually something else entirely? Because once you understand what's really going on, everything changes. So here's the plan. We're going to break down the real science of avoidance. We'll get into why it has absolutely nothing to do with being lazy, what your brain is literally doing when you put something off, and we're going to build to the big reveal, the one single hidden emotion that's driving this entire cycle. Okay, first things first. We have to tear down the biggest misconception of them all. This idea that procrastination is some kind of character flaw, that it just means you're lazy. The science, well, it tells a completely different story. This right here is a massive shift in thinking. For decades, the advice was always, get a better planner, manage your time. But groundbreaking work from researchers like Dr. Fuchsia Sorois and Dr. Tim Pykiel showed us we were looking in the wrong place. Procrastination isn't about your schedule, it's about your feelings. It is an emotion management problem, not a time management one. And this is the absolute core of it. Your brain isn't being lazy, it's being protective. When you avoid a task, it's almost always because that task is triggering some really uncomfortable feelings. Anxiety, self-doubt, that deep down fear of failure. Your brain's only job in that moment is to make the pain stop. So, if it's an emotional thing, what's actually happening inside our heads? Let's zoom in on the neuroscience, because there's a very specific pattern that gets wired into our brains. You've got to know about this term, the amygdala hijack. See, when you look at a task that brings up all those bad feelings, your brain's little threat detector, the amygdala, treats it like a real danger. It honestly can't tell the difference between a charging lion and the fear of failing a big project. It just screams threat and totally overrides your rational planning brain. And this kicks off a really powerful loop. Step 1. The task feels threatening. Step 2, your amygdala pulls the fire alarm. Step 3, your logical brain gets completely sidelined. And step 4, your brain just frantically looks for the nearest exit sign, which is usually some kind of distraction that gives you immediate relief. Now here's the kicker, and it's why this habit gets so ingrained. That little moment of relief you feel when you decide to watch a video instead, that's a reward. It's like giving your brain a cookie. And it teaches your brain a very simple lesson. Hey, avoidance works. It makes the bad feeling go away. So the next time you're in that situation, that pathway is even easier to follow. Now, this whole avoidance pattern, well, it doesn't look the same for everybody. In fact, psychologists have started to identify these 5 distinct types. As I go through them, just ask yourself, which one sounds a little too familiar? So, which one are you? Are you the perfectionist, so afraid the final product won't be perfect that you can't even start? Maybe you're the overwhelmed, where the task just feels so huge and vague it's paralyzing. Or maybe a thrill seeker who actually uses the adrenaline rush of a looming deadline to get motivated. Then there's the avoider, who's more afraid of being judged for trying than for failing. And finally, the rebel, who uses avoidance as a way to feel in control. Okay, we've talked about the what, the emotion problem. We've talked about the how, that amygdala hijack loop. Now it's time to get to the promise I made at the very beginning. What's the one single emotion that's hiding underneath it all? Because after all the studies, all the brain scans, all the psychology, it really does boil down to one of the most powerful feelings a human can have. There it is. Shame. That's the one. It's the hidden engine driving so much of this avoidance. And because it's one of the most painful emotions we can experience, our brain will do pretty much anything to steer clear of it. And it is so important to know the difference here. Guilt and shame are not the same thing. Guilt is about your actions. It says, I did something bad. But shame is about your identity. It says, I am something bad. You see the difference? It's a direct attack on your sense of self. So when a task gets all tangled up with your value as a person, your brain goes into full-on self-preservation mode. The subconscious logic is, well, it's brutal, but it's simple. If I never finish this thing, or if I never even start it, then I can never truly fail. And if I never fail, I can never prove that deep, dark fear, that feeling of shame, to be true. So just understanding this stuff is a huge step. But knowing isn't enough. We need action. So for our last section, let's get super practical with a science-backed toolkit you can use to start breaking this cycle. First up, name the emotion. The next time you feel that pull to avoid, just stop. And instead of fighting it, just notice it. Simply say to yourself, okay, this is anxiety, or I'm feeling really insecure about this. Research from UCLA is amazing on this. Just the act of labeling the feeling can calm your amygdala down and reduce its intensity by like half. You're observing it instead of being controlled by it. Number 2, the 2-minute reframe. Your brain gets scared when a task looks huge, so you trick it. Don't say, I have to write this 10-page report. No, just commit to opening the document and writing for 2 minutes. That's it. It's such a tiny goal, it doesn't set off the brain's alarm bells. And what's cool is, because of something called the Zeigarnik effect, our brain's obsession with unfinished tasks, just starting is often enough to keep the momentum going. And finally, number 3, this is the deep one. Decouple your worth from your output. This is a constant practice of reminding yourself, this report, this project, this task, it's something you do. It is not who you are. A bad outcome on a project doesn't make you a bad person. This is how you ultimately disarm the threat of shame. You take your identity right off the negotiating table. So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It is a coping mechanism. It's a very human, if sometimes clumsy, attempt to deal with difficult emotions. It's a pattern, and you can't change a pattern until you understand it. And now that you have this new way of looking at it, I want to leave you with a question. Thinking back to those 5 types we talked about, the perfectionist, the overwhelmed, the thrill seeker, the avoider, and the rebel, which one of those really hit home for you? Because just recognizing your specific pattern, well, that's the first step to rewriting it.